Truth is making a comeback. America's Top Stories with Lisa K. Donner.
With Vice President Joe Biden now in the race for the White House, the Democratic conga line grows ever longer. What will ultimately separate the men from the boys or the ladies from the girls? Well, that's actually likely to be money. And so far, Biden has demonstrated his strength in that area and put up some notable numbers. Liberty Nation's national columnist Sarah Cowgill recently explained, quote, Biden's foray into the financial race has so far been impressive, unquote. In a very short time, he has eclipsed the field of 20 candidates. Sarah joins us now to discuss the Democrats and their dough. Sarah, welcome to Truth TV.
Hey, thanks for having me, Lisa. Always a pleasure.
All right, so you were the most popular person on Truth TV last week. So you're back by popular demand.
Oh, well, good. Mean girl pays off these days, huh?
It does indeed. All right, so Biden hasn't been in the race officially for very long, but his finances are looking pretty darn good compared to the other Democrats. Why do you think that is?
Name recognition, just right off the bat, name recognition. I can't think of much else. And also that Bernie Sanders is a little bit too far left for the rest of the world. So I think it's just a slam dunk that right now Biden is going to be ahead.
Let's look back at the spending with Hillary and Donald Trump. So we look at this chart and we see that Hillary raised $1.191 million and Mr. Trump raised essentially $646.8 million. Now, this is very unusual because generally the one with the most money usually wins. But this is a situation where things were turned basically upside down,
right,
isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think it turned upside down because there was no message from the Democrats. There was no message whatsoever. Trump had the message.
Do you really think it was just as simple as that, Sarah?
I think it was as simple as that. I think the middle of America finally found somebody that spoke to them, that said, let's make America great again. And all the nonsense stopped. They're still behind him on that message. And I think that just flipped Hillary. She had nothing. I'm with her. What the heck does that mean?
All right, this sort of belies the whole collusion Russian conspiracy, doesn't it? Because the business of spending money to elect Donald Trump seems rather silly when you look at the fact that Hillary had so much more money and she outspent him. She actually spent $969 million to Trump's $531 million spent.
Right. I think that the narrative is, we're packing, or Trump is packing massive amounts of people at these venues, and that's not a Russian thing. They didn't sell the tickets, they didn't buy the tickets and hand them out to people. This is a Trump thing. This is a Trump following kind of thing. So Hillary was lost before she even started.
Let's take a moment to look at this next graph. We see that the 2020 election is shaping up to be a very, very expensive run. What are some of the things you notice on this?
It'll be a $2 billion race right off the bat. That's an easy predictor. I think you see Sanders and Biden kind of neck and neck fighting it out for who's going to be next in line. But again, if 2016 is any indication, I don't think it's going to matter. I think the guy with the best message that can reach, the American populace is going to win.
So this graph doesn't actually have Biden on it, but what did Biden raise and how long did it take him?
In 12 hours, he surpassed Bernie's first 12 hours, or Bernie's complete. I mean, it was just an amazing thing. In 12 hours, he reached the threshold of 65,000 people to go ahead and be on the Democratic primary stage. You have to have 65,000 donors, according to DNC. They have some pretty tight rules on this. So he had that sewn up in 12 hours where everybody else is just kind of plodding along.
Well, I think that's very interesting. Nobody's noticed this, but people who have been in politics before know that everybody looks at the quarterly fundraising totals. Do you think that Biden didn't get in until after this fundraising total was set for a reason?
Ooh, I don't know. Conspiracy theory, maybe. Maybe he's sniffing around out there and trying to drum up some corporate dollars without anybody really paying attention. I don't know.
Well, my thinking is that he wanted to see who his biggest competition was, which is fair. So why not see where the first quarter kind of pans out, and then he can see what hoop he has to jump through. It sort of makes sense.
Could be. I mean, he's not the dumbest guy in the field. He's just the handsiest. But I mean, let's face it, he's been through this before a lot of times. And with Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012, I mean, he's a seasoned politician.
But he is an old white man and an old guard Democrat. Biden essentially represents everything that progressives claim to hate. What do you think the fact that Biden is outpacing his more progressive opponents says about the so-called progressive wing of the Democratic Party?
Progressives get all of the media attention. They're the shiny object. Biden jumps in. People are looking at him like, is he going to go to the left? Is he going to spout Green New Deal? Is he going to allow illegals to vote? They're waiting for him to be the voice of reason since he is the old guard. And I think that the Americans who might be swayed to vote for Joe Biden see that. They see him as an adult in the field of all the lunacy that's going on.
But how are the candidates themselves reacting to being outpaced so quickly by Joe Biden's campaign and the donors?
Oh, they're losing their minds. They're losing their mind. I've gotten 7 emails, but I don't know why I'm even on the list. I've gotten 7 emails from Beto. And every day it's a different line in the subject line. It's a different, apocalypse now message about I need money, I need money, I need money. And Bernie's starting to stand out and decry what's going on, and he's kind of losing his mind over the firefighters union endorsing Biden. So they're not happy and they're on the run.
You mentioned earlier that the Democrats have set a bar of 65,000 individual donors to get on the stage. Who do you expect to see on the main debate stage, Sarah?
Well, right off the bat, several people have. There's another thing that goes with that 65,000 individual donors. They have to at least rank 1% in the polls, and those polls are decided. It's not just, Rasmussen reports this week, or it's 538, or Real Clear Politics. It's going to be what the Democrats decide they want the polls to be. So they could come up with their own little, this week, let's hand it to Kamala Harris. And if they're not, if they're not polling as strongly as she is in some of the other polls, they will use those polls. So they're tightly controlling this primary. It may look like a free-for-all, but the Democrats are tightly controlling this primary.
Well, liberals always seem to want to control everything. So they got their hands on the trigger of this. And I think if people think that they don't, that they're not tipping the scales, they're badly fooling themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I picked out this last graph because I thought it was very interesting. Here we are in 2019. But let's go back to 1960, Kennedy-Nixon. So what I see is that it's gotten really out of hand. I mean, it's astronomical.
Oh, of course, it's crazy, Tim.
Right.
Crazy.
But then in 2016, the money didn't seem to matter as much. So what do you make of this graph?
It's obviously there's inflation. It happens across the board, even in political candidacies. But you've got a fight on your hands. You've got too many media outlets. You've got 24/7 news coverage. People have to buy heavily. And that's probably, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say where the most media or the most money is going to purchase media. And so look at all of your 24-hour news, cable news stations. Look at social media, Facebook, you've got Instagram, you have Twitter. So there's a lot of money going into play where there didn't used to be. And that's even true for 2008 and 2012. So it's dropped off a little bit, but you're going to have, the Obama races were huge. They were huge financial juggernauts. And then Hillary's was pretty good too, but it's dropping back a little bit because I do think there's other media outlets popping in that are leveling the playing field a little bit.
It's also interesting to see that in 2008, Obama outpaced McCain 3-1.
McCain was not a likable candidate, and the Democrats did a great job of just smearing him. He wasn't going to get a lot of love.
But then if you look in 2012, Romney picked up the pace a lot with a lot more money than McCain, but it didn't really help him in the end.
No, it didn't, because he's unlikable. Hillary was unlikable, so it doesn't help if nobody likes you. It doesn't matter how much money you have.
So in the end, all and be all is not the money then.
It is not the money. Not anymore. It's the message.
Well, thanks so much. Sarah Cowgill, national correspondent for LibertyNation.com. Thanks so much for analyzing this and for your significant political background in campaigns.
Truth is making a comeback. Visit us at LibertyNation.com.